What's up, everybody? The Hunger Games franchise is back with a prequel, and we gotta talk about this one. There will be spoilers in this video, however, I will start off with a very limited spoiler, or it's even almost spoiler-free breakdown of the plot for anyone on the edge of seeing this movie or not, especially you non-book readers like myself. With that being said, let's get right into that. And just a reminder, in case this is your first time here in the Nerdverse, this is not every bit of the story, just what I feel would be crucial in one deciding whether or not to head out to the theater if they're on the fence about it. Alright, it starts with a flashback to 3 years before the first annual Hunger Games, which means we're in the Revolution or War as we see a young Corio and Tigris. Then we go to present day, which is the year of the 10th annual Hunger Games, so 13 years later, and we see teenage Snow and Tigris. Lucy, that's Rachel Zegler's character, is selected from District 12, the main one from the original movies, as a female tribute, and Snow is selected as her mentor. Once the tributes arrive in the capital, there's an incident at the zoo where they're being kept before the games, and then another incident at the stadium before the games start. But Dr. Gall makes sure the games go on. The games take place, and you can take a guess at who wins. It's rather obvious, like most of the movies were. Uh, and then after the games, Corio is sent to District 12 as punishment for cheating, and he gets into a bar fight over Lucy. Things don't go very well in 12 after that either, as we start to see the man Snow will become through various events. To the end of the movie, he returns to the capital thanks to Dr. Gall as he gets his revenge, but Tigris is starting to see who he really is. That's all I'll say for now. I hope that helps if you're someone who hasn't seen it and you're wondering if you should. If it did, I'd appreciate it greatly if you'd subscribe to the channel to help out, and so you can make your way back once you watch the movie for the rest of the video. I will now be going into full spoilers on the movie, so if you're hopping off here, I do hope you come back when you've seen the movie, and have a great day. Per usual, I'm going to get my cons out of the way first so I don't have to nag on the negative parts of the movie throughout the whole video. To start off, I did not like how short the flashback scene was because it started off the movie with such a bang and I was so into it, then boom, we go to present day in part 1 as they call it, and it was a major drag. Then another pretty major issue is part 2 as it was pretty meh too, and this part had the damn Hunger Games in it, but still failed to really wow me. But the biggest letdown for me had to be Peter Dinklage. I think did the best with what he was given, like script wise, but that script was very weak for his character Dean Highbottom. Also, amongst the main characters, I was not blown away by Rachel Zegler's acting performance. And before you Rachel crazies blow me up, wait for the pros section because it wasn't all bad. Then I kind of mentioned it, but I really didn't like both the games and the stadium. The stadium was very Romanesque, and I guess it does make sense for it only being the 10th Hunger Games, but I just didn't dig it. And the games, with the exception of like one, maybe two moments, if I'm being generous, were incredibly boring. Which brings me to my final issue, and that was putting a special needs girl in the game. She survived into like the final six or so, but the way she died just rubbed me the wrong way. Like I felt bad for her, but not in the good way you feel bad for people in a movie. If that makes any sense at all, I might be just speaking gibberish over here, but that's it. I guess those first two are pretty big issues, but there's quite a bit left for this next section, which will be the pros. And let's not waste any time getting to the pros. So the first is going to be Cornelia Coriolanus, Snow, and his arc in the movie. I was so concerned with what they were going to do, but god damn was it a great arc, taking him from the likable lover boy to the monster he is in the originals. Then, I'll get this one out of the way since I teased it in the cons section. Rachel Zegler had an incredible singing voice. Like, her scenes where she sings were genuinely amazing. Some other great things that happened and something I complained about were the two incidents before the games, which were really cool. Having the one tribute kill a mentor, then be shot, and then the rebel bombing kill four more tributes was a very, very fresh and intriguing route. Speaking of fresh and intriguing, I'm glad they did a capital mentor to district tribute relationship rather than district on district like Katniss and Peeta. And by the way, I hate Peeta. Then, kind of jumping back to the first pro, along with Snow's arc, I really like the cousin relationship between him and Tigris. Tom Blyth and Hunter Schafer were phenomenal in this movie. Another great performance, which was expected, came from Viola Davis as a head game master, Dr. Gall. She was a standout performance for sure, at least in my opinion. With Tom Blyth, I don't know how to say it. I'm awful. Just behind her. That's another development I really liked actually though is Gaul and Snow's relationship is she's a pretty big influence on who he becomes. Then the big one, part 3 was just great. Like genuinely 10 out of 10 stuff for the last, I don't know, 45 minutes or so of the movie is everything that goes on in District 12 had me perked up in my seat and loving every minute, and the final two sequences or scenes of the movie are just great too. And I think that'll do it for the pros of the movie. Now let's move on and dive into the end in a little more detail than I did before. As I just said, I really like the end of this movie, but I loved the final two scenes that really showed off Snow's fall to darkness. Before that, actually, though, let's talk about what came before it, literally, in the movie. I'll start as Snow turns on his friend, Sejanus, using the Jabberjay, which is like the 1.0 version of the Mockingjay, to record his friend and send it to Dr. Gall. As a result, Sejanus and two members of District 12 are hung, and this really drives Corio over the edge. Corio runs away with Lucy, but when he slips up and mentions he's killed 3 people, talking about Sejanus, not 2, like she knows about, things fall apart there too. He tries to cover it up, but Lucy wasn't buying a damn word he said, and then Lucy waits for the right time and runs away, setting a trap with his mother's scarf. I think it was a scarf, by putting a snake underneath it, which bites Corio when he picks it up. He goes into a frenzy, shooting at Jabberjays and screaming for Lucy, who he'd just taken a couple shots at, and eventually he returns to District 12, and we don't see the end of Lucy's story, so as a non-book reader, I've got no clue if she's dead or alive. Corio then goes to head off to District 2 as he tries to make his way back to the capital, but that's happening sooner than he thought as Dr. Gall has convinced the president to give him a full pardon, and he's likely going to be under her wing to become even more uh, of the man we see by the 74th Hunger Games. In their new home, Grandma Am, I could never pronounce that either, compliments Corio's new style, but when he asks Tigress how he looks, she responds that she sees his father in him, which she pleaded with him to not let happen earlier in the movie. We also learn that Highbottom didn't even like the games, and they were actually the reason he drinks. It was just a silly idea he did for a project that Snow's father took to Gaul and made happen. Corio then gives him Sejanus belongings, which contain some of his alcohol, and Highbottom takes the first as his nose starts to bleed because Snow poisoned it. Those final scenes were perfect amongst a great part 3, and I could not have loved the ending more than I did. And so that's going to do it for my spoiler review of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The end was great, but those first 2 parts just dragged too much for me to give it a score higher than I have, and that's a 6.5 out of 10. But that's just my opinion. You can let me know if you agree or disagree by leaving your thoughts and rating down in the comments below. Also, for this movie, if you choose to comment, make sure you say if you read the books or did not read the books, because I want to know if that makes any difference in enjoyment. Thank you for checking out my review of this movie, and if you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it greatly if you subscribe to the channel for more reviews just like it, and make sure you have a great day.